Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, whichever you decide that you're going to watch this video. I'm going to make an attempt to show you how to navigate through the Iowa legislative website. First and foremost is getting there, and that's pretty simple. It's simply type in legis, .iowa.gov. That should take you to the site that you're seeing in front of us today. And this may or may not take an hour. I'm going to give you a little bit of what I do every morning when I go in when they're in session, just to see what's going on for the day, and if I need to schedule time aside to get in on some of the debates that are coming. So the first thing I will do is go over to the upper left-hand corner below where it says the Iowa Legislature and click on that. And I don't use this page very often, but this page is an explanation of what is available here. Again, I don't go in there very often. I use a lot of other sites. In fact, the next step is to go to the legislators. And this site I use a lot because this is where you find your legislator. I'm going to go over to the left-hand side on senators and click on that. And then you can go down on your own and find out who your senator is. I'll pick on Senator Cournoyer first. If you click on her, obviously a picture shows up in her site. It shows all of the standing committees that she's on, as well as if she's a vice chair or a chair. She's the chair of the newly appointed technology committee. They've already passed a couple of important bills. But this shows you the different committees that she's on, the boards and commissions that she's on. And then it also gives you an opportunity to subscribe to her newsletter. I have several of the legislator newsletter that I subscribe to. And at the end of a week, Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon, I'll get an update on what they did this past week. So if you go down to the bottom, you can see where it says subscribe to Chris Cournoyer's newsletter. Simply fill it out, hit send, and you'll be on their radar as someone who's following Senator. The other thing is you can go in here under legislation and you can see, I'm going to click on that. You can see the bills that are going on that particular day. And this goes way back to the beginning of the session. So, but that talks about the bills that are on and bills she may be involved in as well. And so that's the senator side. Now let's go over to the House side. Couple of clicks on the back buttons, and then we'll go down to representatives on the House side, and same philosophy on the House side. And I'm going to pick on let me find him here. He's down at the bottom. Mike Vondran. He's one of them that I subscribe to because I want to know what's going on. Click on Mike. Picture comes up, obviously. Again, the committees that he sets on, agriculture, commerce, and public safety. Is also on the appropriations for the justice system. There's the contact information, couple of email addresses, Capitol cell phone number as well. And again, if you go down to the bottom, you can see where you can subscribe to Mike Vondran's newsletter. He's a freshman representative, so he doesn't have as much on his sites as others do. I'll go back and pick out another one that may have more. Let me just find where Bobby Kaufman is and show you his site. He's one of the leaders. There's a picture of Bobby. Bobby is one of our representatives out of the Wilton area that we use a lot to run some of our bills and so forth. But you can see he's on government oversight, judiciary, state government ways and means chair. The committees that the realtors work, and the builders too, that work with our state government, local government, commerce. A lot of our bills run through commerce. So we watch a lot of the different bills that come through those And I'll show you that in a second, how we do that on a daily basis. But that gives you an opportunity then to get an idea of how to get in contact with your legislator and or sign up for their website and be in touch with them. They see who's on. They do take a quick look at it. And so let's talk about bill tracking. And first of all, let's go to on the Senate side. You see me highlighting the Senate floor bills by vote. These are the bills that from the beginning of the session that have been debated and voted upon by the Senate. And one of the questions that always comes up is, how do I find out how my representative or my senator voted on a particular bill? You know what the bill number is. You just type in the bill number, and then or you go to this site and you look up the bill number. I mean, I'll just type on this bill. This was a rather large bill on Committee on Health and Human Services, and it was a highly debatable bill. So you just type on that, and then we'll go out of that, come back to this site, and then you come down here where it says Vote PDF, and you hit that, and all of a sudden what pops up is how they voted. For instance, 29 yays, 21 nays. I pay particular attention because they're obviously in this session, the Republicans have a super majority, so they can pass just about anything they want, but which isn't necessarily a good thing. But in this particular case, I'll point out that Scott Webster, a freshman senator, very well thought of freshman senator, voted against this bill for whatever reason. But this is how you find out how your senator or your House representative voted on any particular bill. We go back to the beginning again, and that's under, again, Senate floor votes by bill. So those are bills that have been debated, have been passed by the Senate. Same thing on the House side. If you go over on the House side and you look at some of the bills that are in there, this was a leverage, just wasn't quite as serious of a bill. Of course, they're all serious, but if you go down, I'm hoping I picked one that has an explanation. It doesn't. So I'm going to go back and find one and tell you how a lot of times I will get through the pick up another one here. How I get through quickly reading. And some of these bills can be, for instance, the bill that the governor has passed or asked to be passed by House and the Senate in reorganizing the state government. That was 1,500 pages. There's no way that you can read 1,500 pages. So I simply go down and I look for an explanation. And then I read the explanation. Again, another one that doesn't have the explanation. So let me go pull up a bill that, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. But, and it also talks about amendments. That means it was debated and there were amendments on the floor that may or may not have passed. Again, you can do the same thing on the House side and see how they voted. Obviously, this was a bill that was only one nay vote, 2 not voting. So it was a bill that was a bipartisan bill that passed on ombudsman. That's easy for you to say. So that's a way of finding out how your local representative or your local senator voted on the bill. I do want to go back and show you something I go to every day. This is that's not it, pardon me. This is the Senate debate calendar. And I find this interesting every day because it tells me what's on the calendar for debate. Now I would point out to you on this calendar, this one's dated March 22nd. So every day that I went in on March 23rd till today, it has not been updated, which tells me that the Senate is not going to debate a lot of bills. I still have another way of going in and checking it, but this tells me that Senate's working on other things, probably budgets at this time, because I know that the House and the Senate are far off on their budgets, like $90 million apart. So they both have got to be tweaking their bills. But then I go into the House side to see what the debate calendar, obviously this is updated. This is set now for Thursday, today being Wednesday. And I was particularly interested in this one because in the Senate File 455, and I'll just pull it up, is a bill relating to the regulation of topsoil and stormwater at construction sites. This is a bill that the home builders have been, it's been approved and passed on the Senate floor, on the Senate side. It's now in the House side. And this is a bill that has the home builders have been working on for a number of years. Again, doesn't have an explanation. No, it doesn't. So this is a bill that we have been supporting as realtors. Just a quick overview of the bill. Since about 2011, the conditions that have been placed by the state and then by each city have added to the cost of developing land almost to the tune of about $20,000 a lot. So this is not a bill that is going to harm the environment in any way, but will help the home builders get a better handle universally on what they need to be doing for topsoil and stormwater. So debate calendar is important. I watch it every day. In this particular case in the House, they have a little over 2 pages of bills that they want to try and get debated over the course of the next few weeks, because it won't be too long. The session is supposed to end on the 28th. I doubt that it does because they're so far apart on the budget, but that's a debate calendar that shows you what's supposedly going on. Now, the other things you can go into, I do not do very often, are the daily archives. And this just tells you, I'll click on this top one from today. This just tells you what's going on for the day, shows you that the Senate is not in session, in debate session anyway. So I rarely use these. If I want to go back and look for an old bill that was approved or passed in a particular, and I know what that bill is, I might go back and look at that, but rarely do I go into those to discuss or see what's taken place, unless there's a special request or need. If we go over back on the Senate side again, and it says Senate floor action, tells you that they haven't come and they're going to the Senate adjourned at 9:09 a.m. until 9 on Thursday. It tells you that they're in different meetings. These are different bills that were sent from the House to the Senate to be either relooked at or because there were amendments in the House, and you can click on them. I'll just click on one just to show you. And again, this is a Ways and Means Committee, so that has to do with money, and that's always a big bill. As you can see, it's going down and down. I mean, it's a large bill, and so they've sent that over to be discussed again on the Senate side. Now, as we go down the website, there are things down here. Every day I will go in first thing in the morning under these Senate meeting schedule, standing committees, no standing committees. And if there were a standing committee that were going to meet, you could join in on Zoom. Just as if you go over to the House site at 9, the Ways and Means, room 102, public comments. Normally there's a place where you can zoom in on these committees. But what I specifically concentrate on are these subcommittee bills. These are subcommittees. SSB stands for Senate proposed bill in the Senate study bill. And this is a bill issued on between rentals, between the affiliates, from the sales and use tax, from the fee of new vehicle registration. So this is a bill that's going to be discussed in a subcommittee, and there's your explanation So it shows this bill exempts certain leases or rentals between affiliates from the sale and use tax from the fee of new vehicle. It's easier to read through this and try and get a grip on what that bill contains, as opposed to reading a 10-page or 100-page bill. So I always look at this because I want to see what these subcommittees are going to be talking about. If it's something, I'll go into this one on the Ways and Means. This is assessment of property containing certain above ground storage tanks and including the effective date retroactive applicability provisions. So they're discussing this. They're going to decide whether this bill has merit and should be passed on to the full committee of the Senate, and then that would be discussed. The subcommittees are made up of 3 people generally, 2 in the power party, in this case the Republicans, and 1 in the Democrat. And so this is where it all begins, in a subcommittee bill. Same way with the House side. On the House side, we've got 3 Ways and Means meetings, and I'll just click on one because that's a study committee, and this is a House file, which means it's already been discussed. They're going to discuss it again because it apparently had some amendments or something that had to be worked on. So anyway, that's stuff that I go into almost every morning to look at. I spend maybe an hour, maybe longer, depending on whether they're in session. I was hoping that they might be in a debate session today, that I could show you how that works, but they're not. They were yesterday afternoon on the House side, and they debated a lot of bills and passed a lot of bills. So, well, next thing I want to go into is your legislative agencies. And particularly, I want to key in on the Legislative Services Agency. This is the agency that writes all the bills. They're bipartisan. They can be difficult to work with at times if you're trying to put a bill together, but most of the time they're understanding. But this is where it all starts, in the Legislative Services Agency. And the other bill that you hear very little about, but is, where's it at? Let me go in here again, because I think it's, anyway, it's called the Fiscal Services Agency, and it's somewhere in here. It is. I haven't found it again. Here it is. Fiscal Services Division. That's important for you to know, and tells you who's on it, because what they do is they actually perform an analysis on bills, especially coming out of Ways and Means. They perform a budget analysis on the bill, how that particular bill, if it were passed, is going to affect the full budget of the state of Iowa. And it's an interesting process. Sometimes it takes them a day or two, sometimes it takes them a week or two to come up with an answer. But they play an important part on determining the cost of what that bill is. In fact, they're the only ones, and they get these bills out to the Senate and the House when they're asked. And that's what's used to help make decisions on whether a bill should pass or not, whether it has merit or not. And again, it's really under the legislative agency part of it. Another bill that you might be another place you might be interested in is lobbyist information. When I was in Des Moines, I had to sign up as a lobbyist, and it is kind of interesting. All the lobbyists, we're going to try and find, that's the lobbyist reports, lobbyist and client. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. So these are all the lobbyists that are registered in Iowa. I'm going to go to one that you probably are familiar with, in Jen Kingland. So you can just see where she stands in the lobby. And I can't reiterate anymore. She is one of the most respected lobbyists up there. She doesn't take on a lot of clients. That's typically in order for her to take on more clients, because the Iowa Association of Realtors is her primary client. It had been written when I was there in her contract, I'm assuming it's still there, that she has to get approval of the Iowa Association of Realtors to take on a new client, and making sure that it didn't have a conflict of interest with, there we go, Jen Kingland. So give her address. She actually has 4 clients. Let's see if we can pull them up. No, I guess I can't pull them up, but none of her clients have any, oh, there they are, right there. Fireworks, Growth Energy, Service Company, and of course, the Iowa Association of Realtors. So if you wanted to take a look at other lobbyists in there, that's where you would go, right at the top where it says lobbyist reports and general information on lobbyists. I'm going back to my original screen, hopefully. Here we go. I've already talked about debate calendar and floor action and meeting schedule, and again, live streaming in these standing committees. There is a live stream option that you can get involved with and take a look and see if there's anything that interests you. Again, every day when I'm down, I look at the tentative debate calendar. I take a look on this side to see if I get in early enough, which I generally do, I can see what's been debated on the day before, how the votes went, and it all appears up in this area of the website. Just so much information on this website, and it's just a matter of going in and just playing with it and seeing what's in there. Committees and schedules. Again, this is just a full list of all the different committees and schedules and who's on it. For instance, if I kicked in on the Senate Commerce Committee, there's your chair, your vice chair, your ranking member, and you can see who's on that committee. You can get the different member profile, member photos, meeting schedules, so forth, so on. Legislation by that committee. Commerce is, again, one that a lot of our bills run through, again, as well as state government. If you wanted to see who's in charge of state government, there you are. If you wanted to, there's Bobby Kaufman, who is in our district. Just seeing who else is on that committee for. And it's a mix, obviously, with David Young is, we used to be our congressman in Des Moines, is now a representative for district number 28 in Des Moines. The other thing on here is Iowa law and rules. If you really want to understand, you can go in and read the Iowa laws and rules, the Iowa codes in there, the Constitution, just many, many, many different things in there that you can read. It's an interesting website in the fact that there's so much on here and so much that pertains to us in the bills that are being passed or talked about and how they would affect our business. And, you know, it's, I really didn't get interested in this until I got into Des Moines and became a lobbyist. And then every day I was on here, and I carried a computer with me, would go into a room at the Capitol building and just take a look and see what's the debate calendar look like for today in the House, and what I need to be. And if I needed to get a hold of, in this particular case, when you look at the bill, you can see over here the bill history. But if I needed to get a hold of the House representative that was going to run this bill on the floor, which is on the Senate, Webster ran it and got it passed. On the House, it's Dunwell. Dunwell is out of the Newton area. But if I needed to get a hold of him, I could go to the House side, send in a card requesting him to come out and visit with me and talk about how this bill affects affordable housing and the cost of lots and so on and so forth. And that's what the lobbyists do. That's exactly everything that they do. So winding down, I didn't know if this would take an hour. It's going to be about a half an hour. Winding down, I hope that many of you will just take a few minutes and peruse through this website and maybe get the bug for taking a look at what's going on every day up there, because this is your life. They can pass bills. Hopefully we'll know about them, but and at the end of the day, at the end of the session, they have a standings bill that anything can go in. Fortunately, we have a great lobbyist that watches that every day and making sure that there's nothing in there that's going to be harmful to the real estate business or the brokerage business in the state of Iowa. So that's my message to you. Challenge you to just take a look and just kind of keep a watchful eye on what's going on, and also open a door for you, each of you, to find out who your legislator is, both House and Senate, get their phone numbers, give them a call, send them an email, send them a text. Many of them, even though I'm not in their districts, they will reach out to me and ask me how I feel on a certain bill or issues that are going on. Most of them know that I'm still active and involved in this side of the industry and just want my opinion. A couple of them I've had some Saturday morning coffees with to talk about meetings and bills that are being proposed out there. So again, I would just say to each of you and challenge each of you to take half an hour and go through and see what it is that you like about the legislation that's going on, and just be alert to it, because we never know when a call for action is going to come, when a negative bill or a bill that's going to affect our industry or the home ownership, the American dream, until our lobbyist talks about it or the Iowa Association brings it to our attention in our Monday morning meetings. And again, that's something else that you could get involved with. It takes about 20 minutes to 30 minutes maximum on Monday morning at 9 o'clock to sit in on their legislative committee and what's going on and updates and so forth. Very interesting. Put it on your agenda. It doesn't take long. You're not on camera, so you don't have to go in and dress up. But there's a lot going on every year in the House and Senate in the state of Iowa that could affect negatively how we do our business. And we just want to make sure that you are all up to speed on what you can be doing to help. So with that, I will say to you, if you have any questions, contact me through the board, call me. I'd be happy to talk with you about it. If you want just a one-on-one session of what I did today, be happy to sit down with you and just go through it with you and explain it to you again. So with that, I will sign off and say thank you for watching this, and hopefully you will have the opportunity to use it in the future. Thank you.